Welcome back to the Stretch the Floor podcast. I'm Matthew, and I'm here as always with Venushan, and this is the final 5 out of 5 of our position rankings, our top 10 position rankings. Point guards, the hardest one to rank probably out of every position. They're all hard, but there's just so many good point guards in the league. There's like we were kind of just talking about before we started recording. There's 11 elite guys in the league, and it's only a list of 10. So someone's getting snubbed. I don't know. I'm wondering who each of us snubbed. It's going to be interesting to see. Let's not waste any time. Let's get into it. You start off like as always, 10, 9, 8. Who do you got?
Okay, so my 10 is Kyle Lowry,
Okay.
my 9 is Russell Westbrook, and my 8 is John Morant.
Wow. Okay, so two of those guys you mentioned, I don't even have on my list. I have Ben Simmons at 10. I have
Okay.
Jamal Murray at 9, and then I have Kyle Lowry at 8.
Yeah, okay, so Jamal Murray didn't make my list because he's injured.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was just like, you know what? I just kind of get the safe route. He's injured, so I didn't rank him, right? I don't know how he's going to
Yeah.
return, how he's going to
Yeah.
play. But yeah, if he was like what I've seen last of him healthy, then obviously he would be in this list and he would knock some of the guys out. Uh, Ben Simmons didn't make my list
Okay.
because everyone I listed is a two-way player, like not like two-way players and like they're elite defenders or whatever, but they don't like they at least try on defense in the playoffs when it matters, and then they're elite on offense. They're never gonna get like zoned out or like they're never gonna pass up an open dunk. None of the guys I have above him. So yeah,
Yeah.
like I can't put him on this list over anyone else. Yeah, so that's a pretty surprising list that you have Ben Simmons. He's not even my number 11 guy. He's like my number
Wow.
12 guy. Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to make it sound like I'm hating on Russell Westbrook. He's definitely my 11. Like definitely, he was borderline All NBA. He didn't make All NBA, but he was borderline All NBA this year. His second half
Yeah.
was unbelievable. I just think Ben Simmons, like as much hate as he's getting right now for his personality and the way he's handled the situation and his playoff like refusal to score,
Yeah.
he's still the best defender in the league. He's the best wing defender in the league, and I think he showed that last year. And he still brings like at least in the regular season, he still brings a lot of value, like
Yeah.
playmaking, transition, and stuff like that with his defense, with his rebounding. I just like he's still
But
an undeniable talent.
but was Tony Allen ever being ranked in the top 10 of shooting guards when he was playing? No, he wasn't. He was
No.
an all NBA level first team defender for literally like half his career, but he was never being put. Yeah, like in my 10th, I love Tony Allen. I'm gonna take him over, blank and blank who would get me a bucket. Like at the end of the day, defense is great, but we have to look at guys that they're not complete zeros on the offensive end, right? Like someone
Yeah.
like who could play good defense and then like shoot a three or like just get the dunk or something like that. Those guys are ranked so much higher. It's like Scottie Pippen versus
Mm-hmm.
Dennis Rodman. Obviously, that's like the highest level possible, but you know what I mean? Like best
Yeah.
all-time defender versus someone who could do it on both ends. Like they're just higher, right? The offensive end just I don't know, being a complete zero where you won't even take a dunk, it's just too detrimental
Yeah.
to the
Well, if you
team to
just
put
think of
them
him
on
like
here.
Draymond Green and not like as like a point guard, it gets a little
Yeah,
better. But the issue is like on the team that he's on, he's the point guard, so his issues become more glaring in the playoffs, especially. But I can understand why you left him off the list. For Jamal Murray, I would have him probably higher than Kyle Lowry on my list if he weren't injured and he was
yeah.
able to finish out that season because he was unreal this past season. 24 or 21, 4 and 5 on like 48 from the field, 41 from three, 87 from the line. And we know what he does in the playoffs, right?
Wait,
26 and a half.
I just realized you don't have John Moran on your list.
No, he's probably my number. Honestly, he's probably my number 13 guy. I would have De'Aaron Fox at number 12, and then I would have
Oh,
John
you
Moran at
have
number 13.
De'Aaron Fox on your list.
No, I don't.
Okay, I guess we'll get into this.
Well, okay,
But
John Morant, I love him, but he only shot 32% from three, and that was a big issue for him this year. That was something he definitely needs to improve on. Guys just leave him wide open from three.
he's clearly had more of a winning impact than guys like Ben Simmons when he could actually lead his team, be a team leader, be the by far best player on his team, and carry them to like the play-ins, beat Steph Curry, who
Yeah,
we have very high on this list, me and you. I know, let's be honest, we both have Steph Curry one, but yeah, like he beat Steph Curry, and then he versed the number one seed with who the three-time defensive player of the year, Hall of Fame for his defense. Anyone who has a three defensive player of the years always makes Hall of Fame. So Rudy Gobert is going to be a Hall of Famer. He has three defensive player of the years. He steals a game off them, and and that's with Jaren Jackson, who are averaging like 8 points a game, like completely battered and
Yeah.
injured. Jonas Valanciunas, by far the second best player on the Grizzlies team, and he did all that in his second year, averaging 19.1 points, 7.4 assists, 4 rebounds, and his effective field goal percentage was still 48.7%. He shot 2 point percentage, it was 49.9, so almost 50. His 3 point percentage was still above 30%. Obviously not the greatest, but
Mm-hmm.
better than Ben Simmons, 0%.
A little better than Ben
I don't
Simmons.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh
don't
man, I
know.
love I
And he
love
was a good defender too. He
I
wasn't like a
I don't know
slouch
if
on the defense.
I don't he's not a slouch, but he's not like obviously nowhere near Ben Simmons. Obviously. The thing
No.
is like 32% from three when you're getting left, at least in the regular season, when you're getting left wide open. I think it did improve a little bit in those playoff games, but still, like, I don't know.
How you complaining
He's not
about
a
32 when it's zero on your list? You know what I mean?
I don't know, man. Like the way I think about it is like Ben Simmons, as many flaws as he has, he's in it for the type of player, he's not in a good situation. And I do think if he went to like a team like Minnesota, we would see like just how good of a player he could be. You know, I think that
We
he's
had
just
this
gone a little bit too far.
we had this conversation after John Morant's rookie year,
Yeah,
and it was the
it was the
opposite.
other way
You were
around.
going
Yeah,
John Morant, and
yeah,
I was going Ben
yeah.
Simmons. I don't know, man. For me, Ben Simmons' stock severely crashed, which is just that's not an argument, right? That's just a
No, it's
fact.
not. But I think if it like it did crash, but I think you would have had him like 7 or 6 if it didn't crash, like the way that
I
you were
don't
thinking of
think
him
so.
last year.
I think at one point, like being a zero on one side of the court is just too hurtful. Like there's it's rare for players to even be in the conversation when they're at zero. So like I have to give Ben Simmons respect. He was 12 on my list. And like for him being 12 while being a zero on one side is incredible because the only other players that I could think are like zeros, like Matisse Thybulle, PJ Tucker, right? Like those guys, they
Yeah.
they don't even crack your mind when you think about your top 10 list, right? So
Well,
I'll
I
give
think
him
he
a lot
still
of credit.
averaged 7 assists a game this year. It's not like he's at least in the regular season, he still brings you something. Like when in transition, when there's actually fast breaks in the regular season, unlike the playoffs, he's pretty terrifying and he's a really good playmaker. He can actually get dunks in transition. So like if you think of it like that, and then picture him on a team that's going to allow him to actually do that, like a Minnesota, like if you went to like a Houston or something, I think we would see a lot more of that. You know?
I don't know, like the only time we see his ideal situation is Giannis, and the only time we've seen
Yeah.
Giannis win a championship is when he shot 85% from the free
Yeah.
throw line.
Yeah.
He shot threes. People were complaining, oh, why is Giannis shooting threes? He shot 30% from the, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
those threes, those easy buckets, all that stuff. Like just a willingness to do it. You know what I mean? Just be like, hey, I'm open and I gotta make this shot, or I gotta at least take it for the game to really open up and for,
Mm-hmm.
it to get easier for my teammates. If you're just gonna be not shooting and looking for passes and stuff, your other star player you should need to win because no one ever wins by themselves as one star player is just gonna get doubled. That's what
Yeah.
happened with Embiid. He still averaged, he dropped 31 points, I think 5 times in that Hawk series,
Yeah.
31 plus, and they lost. Like for
Yeah.
a Hawks that
No,
wasn't even
no.
healthy. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I
I
think it was
think
the biggest playoff meltdown since LeBron in back in like Dallas when he played the Dallas in the
2011.
finals.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in 10 years, the biggest playoff meltdown. Uh yeah, I'm taking him off that list.
Well, okay. So like, I think we can agree that at least the regular season injuries played a factor. John Morant's regular season was a little bit disappointing. A little
Yeah.
bit disappointing. His 3 point percentage is way down from what we were hoping it would be. Obviously, those few games he had postseason were really good. And Ben Simmons, I think we can agree that after the regular season, we all had a pretty high opinion of Ben Simmons. You know, he was our defensive player of the year, averaged 7 assists,
Yeah.
14 points, and then we saw what happened in the playoffs. So I'm trying not to let that cloud me too much. Obviously, the playoffs is what matters, but I still don't think we've seen Ben in the right situation for him. And obviously, I think John Morant is going to be maybe a top 7, 6 point guard after this coming season. It's just to
Yeah.
me, I think Ben Simmons is more of a I don't know, we just know exactly what we're getting from him, even if he has a lot of holes in his game.
I don't know. I think I could just see like the hypothetical, like the two guys who you have off the list, De'Aaron Fox or John Morant, I
Yeah.
feel if both of them were on the 76ers last season, we're talking about them having a championship ring and Joel Embiid
I don't know
having a
about that
finals
because
MVP.
neither of those guys shot the three well at all, and neither of those guys is close to
Yeah,
the defender that Ben Simmons is.
they went to game 7 with a guy that literally averaged 2 points in
Yeah,
seven fourth quarters.
but dude, they don't get
I'm
the one
telling
seed
you
without
right
his
now.
defense. They don't, like you can't just overlook his
Yeah, the
defense.
game gets so much easier though. Joel Embiid doesn't get doubled. If you think John
True.
Morant's just not gonna take threes when he's wide open, like that's wrong. Like he shot bad from three-point percentage, not because he was wide open. Like
No,
when
no,
you
yeah,
watch his games, like there is a defender in front of him, and he's like taking like he also takes like those bailout threes, shot clock running out, play failed, bailout threes,
yeah, that's fair.
just like someone passing back to him a center or whatever, and you shoot those threes. Kind of why Russell Westbrook's three-point percentage is bad, right? Like when you're the star player, when you're the clear number one, you get to play at bailout shots and you take them and you miss them sometimes, right? Because they're super difficult shots. And I think when you're playing with Joel Embiid and like a Tobias Harris, a 25-point scoring MVP candidate, and Joel Embiid, a 20-point scoring consistent like power forward in Tobias Harris, and then you have shooters in Seth Curry and Danny Green. Like you give all that to
Yeah,
John Moran and De'Aaron Fox, like their efficiency is going to be so much better. And we talk about their efficiency being better, and they're still a million times better than 0% Ben Simmons, right? So like,
yeah.
I don't know. I think that's a huge, huge surprise.
Oh, like I love those guys. Don't get me wrong. I just like, yeah, Ben Simmons has a lot of holes, and but we can't deny how good of a defender he is again.
Yeah.
And also, I'm just trying not to let like my dislike of his personality and how he's handling this whole thing like
Mhm.
cloud my opinion of him as a player. But again, I'll say like the 9, 10, 11, 12 range is like so fluid to me. I'm not like passionately arguing that Ben Simmons is better than those guys. I'm just like, I don't
Yeah.
know. I want to give him respect for what he
Yeah,
can
for
do,
sure.
you know.
Okay,
Okay, so
so
let's
we talked
let's uh let's
about
move
Ben
off him.
Simmons.
So
Yeah.
I
Kyle
had
Lowry.
yeah, let's do Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry, I think like right now, like obviously he has like less trade value than like some of the other guys that we just talked about because
Mhm.
he's like older. But for the player he is right now, he was 40% from three this past season, 39.6. What he brings two way, he's going to lead the league in charges again, like he always does. The team leader in the playmaking is just undeniable.
Yeah, I love Kyle Lowry. I have him on this list, but I also do think you overrated him. Like he is amazing, and he was a top 7 guy last year, but
Yeah,
he took a big
he
step
did.
back.
He did.
That's why he's 10, and that's why he's above like Ben Simmons and stuff for me because he's still two-way, but his defensive ability, in my opinion, is going to be shown like in this Miami Heat series because he's going to be asked to guard point guards now, which he just
Yeah,
can't do.
yeah,
Like in
that's
all
fair.
honesty, he
That's fair.
can't do. He's too slow. Like his first step is not there. And I think, having Fred VanVleet, someone who just takes that responsibility and is probably one of the most underrated defenders of in the league right now. I would say he's probably the most underrated. And then you have OG Anunoby guarding the best wing. So you got to guard the kind of the worst wing. You kind of got to chill and you got to play great team defense. Obviously the Raptors sucked last year defensively because Kyler likes feeding his centers. So like he tries to just get his centers into a position where they can block the shot or contest it. He's gonna have that with Bam, which is gonna be great. But I think the quickness he lost last season is very like not talked about because like people just like wrap it off
Yeah,
like, oh, it was a
and when
bad year. So,
yeah,
so the Raptors, no one really watched the Raptors besides like Raptors fans. But I think it's really noticeable. And he dropped off from points too. He dropped off from 19.4, almost a
yeah,
20-point scorer, all the way down to
17.
17.
Yeah,
But that was more of him like, trying to get the young guys going and stuff. His assists still great, 7.3. His rebounds still great, 5.4. He's still a two-way player. He's just not a point guard defender anymore,
yeah. That's the thing.
in my opinion.
He's still contributing on both ends at a high level, like team
Yeah.
defense, like you said. But we didn't see him exposed too much guarding point guards one on one because, like you said, Fred VanVleet is the guy who took on that responsibility. I do
Yeah.
think the Heat are going to be able to patch together, like Jimmy Butler could guard
Jimmy
the best point
Butler.
guard if they wanted to,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
I think he's still going to be able to contribute with that team defense, and the Heat play a lot of zone defense too. So right, so
Yeah.
that is something that would help him as well. But like I said, he was 39.6 from three this year, so he actually took a step forward from three, maybe making up for some of that lost first step. And like you said, getting the bigs involved. He's playing with Bam Adebayo now, coming
Yeah.
from Kem Birch and Freddie Gillespie and like no one else and Aaron Baines on the Raptors
Mhm.
last year to Bam Adebayo. I think that chemistry, at least offensively, is going to be amazing. And yeah, maybe one-on-one first step guarding point guards is going to struggle. But I don't think we're going to see that exposed until like maybe very late, like into a playoff run. I think in the regular
Yeah.
season, it's totally fine.
Yeah. I just couldn't have him above like a De'Aaron Fox or John Morant because he just can't do it himself. I want to always say this, like these guys that can't do it themselves, I can't have them above, like John Moran and De'Aaron Fox because
Yeah,
these guys are winning games themselves, right? Like
he
De'Aaron
can't
Fox
do it
is going
himself.
out
But
there
then think
scoring
about it, like
40.
yeah. See, the way I think about it is like if I had like a good team that was like a point guard away from a championship, would I rather have De'Aaron Fox or Kyle Lowry? I don't know how much of a step back he's going to take athletically this season, but like let's say 2019 Kyle Lowry, I would have him over
Yeah.
those guys because of the two-way impact and the
Yeah.
playmaking.
2019. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's not 2019. It's
I'm just
2021.
hoping that 2020 was just like a blip on the radar, but he is going to be what 30. He's 35 right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
For
think.
me, he probably should have been 11th on my list. I just gave him 10th because I'm a Kyle Lowry fan.
Yeah.
I'm a Raptors fan. Uh, yeah, he should have been 11th on my list. We're gonna talk about the 11th next because I'm pretty sure you have him on your list. So we'll talk about him then.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kyle Lowry's been great. He shot great. He just took a step back defensively and athleticism wise, which is expected from a
Yeah.
35-year-old. So
Yeah.
can't really put a blame on him for that.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then
So
yeah,
I'm guessing your 11th would be Drew Holiday then.
yeah, my 11th is Drew
Okay. He's my
Holiday.
7. Okay. So I'll give you
Yeah.
I got Drew Holiday at 7. I got Trae Young at 6 and Kyrie Irving at 5.
Oh wow, I got De'Aaron Fox at 7, CP3 at 6, and Trey Young at 5.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Drew Holiday. I mean, I'm guessing the reason you have him is because of if you look at his playoff numbers from this year, the efficiency was way, way, way down. But look at the regular season. He was 18 points, 4.5 assists, or 4.5 boards, 6 assists, 50, 39, 79 slashes with his defense, one of the best guard defenders in the league. Kind
Yeah.
of the perfect player to play on that Bucks team. And even though his efficiency was down in the playoffs, we saw it. They won a championship.
Yeah, but that championship might be the single hardest one-man push
Yeah.
since Dirk Nowitzki in 2011. Like,
Yeah.
I gave Chris Middleton his credit, but he also was playing like Kyle Kuzma and Michael Jordan on and off. Drew Holiday was just a defender this whole
Yeah.
playoff rush.
Yeah.
He was an amazing defender. Everyone I have above him is just they tried defensively. Obviously, they're not Drew Holiday level defensively during the regular season. I mean, during the playoff seasons and stuff, but they try defensively and they're just a million times better offensively. Like Kyle Lowry on his playoff run was nearly averaging 16 every single game consistently. Russell Westbrook is a 20-point guy. He's going to average 20. John Morant, De'Aaron Fox, these guys are winning games by themselves, right? That's something Drew Holiday can't do. And I think like we have to value like if these players were in De'Aaron Fox or Drew Holiday shoes, we're still talking about the championship Milwaukee Bucks. It's just a little different. The game instead of being low scoring, it'll be a high scoring game because the other team scores more because Drew Holiday's not there. But the Bucks also score more because these guys are there, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's why it's kind of weighing it, right? Like
Yeah.
Drew Holiday he wasn't a zero on offense, but he was pretty bad on offense, man. Like he was
No, he
awful on
was.
offense.
He was. But the
Yeah,
thing is, I don't think that's like obviously Ben Simmons, like we talked about before, like he
yeah,
is just a straight zero on offense for like defined reasons. Like we know why. Like there's huge holes in his game. I don't think there's any holes in Drew Holiday's game. I think he just happened to have a bad playoffs. Like he averaged 18 in the regular season, shooting 40% from three, 41%, and 50 from the field. I don't think that's a fluke. I think he can sustain that into a playoff run. I just don't think he did. I'm just kind of treating it as like a blip on the radar.
yeah. But he shot like
It was
look,
it
look
was
at these.
bad.
Look
It
at
was
these.
bad.
He shot
It was bad. I
thirty
didn't write them
percent
down
from
because they were
three.
they were they were ugly.
30% from three, 46.6% from the 2-point field goal percentage, an effective field goal percentage of 46.1, and he shot from the line 71%. That's
Yeah,
awful, man.
yeah,
Like, it's not just bad. Like, that's awful.
yeah,
Like, yeah, he played great defense. That was it. The rest of these guys are just like, you don't have a way to like zone them out. You know what I mean? You're not just gonna like, all right, we'll give them a lane. We'll see what they do. stop Drew Holiday, all you have to do is be up on him. And he's not really like that guy. You know what I mean? Like if you're on Drew Holiday, he's gonna cause to have bad shooting splits. And the only reason he shot that good is remember how much open shots did Giannis get him too, right?
Yeah.
Like, could any of these guys above him have as much open shots as him? Not even close. They all had to create their own open shots.
Yeah.
Whereas like Drew Holiday and Ben Simmons have the comfortability of playing with MVPs, and they're still shooting horrible. So like that's why I have them low. 11 and
Yeah.
12.
I do think you're like maybe underrating just how good defensively he was, even like in that playoff run, especially in that like in the Miami series, like every series he was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it's harder to quantify like defensive numbers, but
Defense. Yeah.
if we looked at Trae Young, his numbers defensively would be just as brutal as Drew Holiday's offensively, if not worse. So like obviously offense, like you said, maybe the game just skews more towards high scoring,
Yeah.
but I think he's one of the better two-way point guards in the league, even though those shooting splits were atrocious. Obviously, we know that Bucks team offensively was not perfectly well put together.
No.
We know that. So I'm kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt. I think he could sustain that kind of numbers into a playoff run.
Yeah, we see he was like amazing defensively, but all the guys he was guarding still put stats on him. It's not like, you know what I mean? Like I feel like we're having like an Andre Iguodala effect, like in 2015, where he wins Finals MVP while LeBron averages 40 points. Like Devin Booker was still doing well. Chris Paul was still doing well. Yeah, Chris Paul did get stripped more, but he also had wrist surgery and shoulder surgery literally seconds after the finals. Kevin Durant was always going to do well. No defender's going to stop Kevin Durant, so I'm not blaming him on that. But like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, Giannis was also the guy also like blocking so much shots, helping the defense so much. Like I'm saying, like, let's not over quantify these defense when you have Giannis or Joel Embiid behind you. It's very easy to play defense because you could just like sway him to him, right? It's why Kyle Lowry almost had an all NBA level defense on our final championship run because he had Kawhi and Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka, right? He knew how to sway them into the bigs and stuff. So these guys have the benefits of playing with those great players, which I think bring up their stock a little too much.
No, that's fair, but that's why like I don't have him over Trae Young. I have Trae Young at 5 or at 6. You have him at 5. All right, so let's just talk about Trae Young. We've already talked about him a lot on this podcast. He is definitely like he's one of the faces of the league for the next 10 years. That playoff run was one of the more memorable playoff runs from a young player in a long time. He owns MSG now. There's no doubts about him as a like an empty stats guy or anything like that. And I'm expecting a really huge season from him on the Hawks and hopefully a deep playoff run.
Yeah, he could win MVP next season. Like that's how much he's breathing his stock. He's easily one of the best young faces of the league. He's easily an MVP candidate. His stats, like they're actually insane. Like hey, for him not to be an all-star was the biggest like surprise in so
to be
long.
Fair,
like
his second half was a lot better than his first half, but his first half was still really good.
But the first half was still all-star caliber.
Yeah.
It's just now, he took away that all that media impact and stuff because he just did it in the playoffs where everyone's watching.
Yeah.
So no more media impact. Everyone knows who Trae Young is. Everyone knows how good he is, and he's going to be all-star the rest of his career. He should have been one last year as well, but it is what it is. He's going to be all-star, all NBA level guy, MVP for the next 10 years, barring any injuries, hopefully.
Yeah, and talk about doing it on your own. He might be like outside of the guys we have like in the top 3. He might be like the best at just doing it on his own, literally putting the team on his back, making that team run like a well-oiled machine offensively.
Yeah,
getting the most out of every single one of his players on that team. They were one of the most fun teams to watch this year, especially second half playoffs, and it's going to continue this coming season.
Yeah, and he's the best player to have that has like a bad shooting night but can still impact his team.
Yeah,
like more than even the guys that we have 1 through 3, because I guess those guys just don't have bad shooting nights, but that's why they're 1 through 3. But Trae Young has had a lot of bad shooting nights where he still is like, wow, this guy impacted the game so much, right? He can have like a 15-15 game, which like he's probably the most likely to have a 15-15 game out of everyone on this list.
Yeah,
that's how good he is passing.
That's a sign of a true superstar, a true like championship number 1 on a championship team, is when you're having a bad shooting night. Which is going to become less and less frequent as he gets older, obviously. He's still one of the best playmakers on this list, and he still gets the most out of all his teammates and will still hit those clutch shots, even if he's, 1 for 8 from 3 for the game going to the fourth quarter. He'll still hit those fourth quarter shots, you know?
Yeah, and the Atlanta Hawks are a super fun team, man. They're probably going to be right up there in the top four contention again, and they still have so many young players.
Yeah.
Where if a Cat requests a trade, if a Beal requests a trade, like they might be the most favorite to get him. Like that's how crazy it is. So yeah, this Hawks team is already going to be top four with an MVP candidate, and they might be the most likely to get the next superstar that comes available.
Yeah.
Wow, this is going to be a very fun team to watch for the next decade.
Yeah. No, for sure. Okay, so you had Chris Paul at which one?
Six.
6, and I have him at
Six.
4. So we talked about Trae Young being like going to be an MVP candidate this year. Chris Paul
Yeah,
was an MVP candidate last year. He was top 3, 4 on everyone's ballot, and I think
yeah,
rightfully so. Like his stats are, they're not really worth mentioning. They're just 16 points, like 7,
yeah,
8, 9 assists, really good. But what he did to that team, that Suns team was already up and coming, but he turned them into an instant contender the second he got there. And we saw Ayton go up like 7 levels. We saw Booker go up a couple of levels, and that whole team, like there was not one player on that team that was not like performing to their best like role that they can. And Chris Paul is a huge, huge, huge reason for that.
yeah. The only reason I have him at six is because I think all those guys above him, 1 to 5, are like actual like MVPs. Like if they like every day they'll score 25 and 7. It's just that injuries is part of the game. And
Mm-hmm.
the guy I have 4 and you have 6, Kyrie Irving, he just always gets injured, man. Like this guy
Yeah.
always gets injured, which is fair. Like if you put him at 6 because of injuries,
I
that's
have him at
fair,
5
right?
actually. I have one ahead of Trae
Okay, yeah.
Young.
I
Yeah.
have one ahead of Trae Young at 4 too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you put him at 5 or whatever because of injuries or whatever, it's good. But yeah,
That's the only
the
reason.
guys,
That's the only
that's the
reason.
only
Yeah.
reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris Paul, he was injured almost every year. Then he
Yeah.
switched to this vegan diet, and then he's missed
Different man.
like 5 games in the last
Yeah.
2 seasons.
Yeah.
So yeah, that diet really rejuvenated his career. I put quotation marks on candidate because we knew Jokic was winning MVP no matter what.
Yeah.
So he was just competing for that second place. He wasn't touching Jokic, but yeah, what a bounce back year. What a finals run. Uh, I don't think the Suns are going to do it again, but man, for
Yeah.
him to have this type of push and impact at this late of the age,
Yeah.
like if it wasn't LeBron James wasn't here, we'll be talking about CP3's longevity and how unique
Yeah.
it was all the
Yeah.
time, right? It just sucks that when he's doing it, probably the best case scenario in the whole sports is doing it with him and LeBron
Yeah.
James. So
Yeah.
his uniqueness of longevity kind of got overshadowed by the best longevity ever. But man, it's still crazy. Like for him to bounce back from being injured, well, it was like 20 games, 30 games, 20 games
Mm-hmm.
to like 5 games, 5 games. Like that diet really did save his career. And man, like if it wasn't for like team success, he would be up there as one of the best point guards of all time. It's
Yeah,
just
for
team
sure.
success holds him back.
Yeah. And you mentioned like guys like Trae Young, Kyrie Irving can put up 25 a game and actually be like MVP, like put up MVP
Numbers.
numbers.
Yeah.
I don't think Chris Paul is any less of a valid MVP candidate, even though he doesn't score 25 a game. Like you can't deny the leadership. It's kind of like Tom Brady, right? Like there's something intangible that you can't put in numbers, you can't quantify. He just makes everyone around him better. Like obviously they have a
Yeah.
great coaching staff. Monty Williams is amazing. They have good players themselves, but something about him just makes everyone click. Even if you can't put it like down as a number, there's just something about it.
Yeah. I just think the guys above him, like they could score 25 and like 15 or whatever. Like stats just don't matter for the guys above him. Like that's how
Yeah,
like they just like
true.
there's no point in talking about stats because all their stats are like so crazy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
So like I think like I just age happens, man. Like stamina happens. Like Chris Paul, like fourth quarter Chris Paul, like he would be
yeah, yeah,
up there with them, right? He just
yeah.
can't do it for a whole game. Like stamina
No,
matters.
that's fair. That's
Right?
fair. That's
For
fair.
him to be able to do it for 1 quarter in the NBA at his age is incredible. And that's why he's 6 at this late of age, right? But stamina matters and he can't just do it for a whole game, which is the only reason why I have him there.
That's fair. That's fair. Let's do Kyrie before we get on to the top 3 a little bit. Kyrie was like 27, 5,
Amazing.
and 6 on 51, 40, 92 this year. If it weren't for injuries, he's probably in the MVP conversation or like at least caliber, like Kevin Durant and stuff take votes away from him. But uh,
Yeah.
injuries are the only reason we don't talk about Kyrie as like maybe even in the top 3, with the
Yeah.
guys that we have up there. maybe the most talented ball handler of all time, one of the most talented scorers in the league. He's so fun to watch. And I'm praying we get a full season from him at some point, hopefully this coming year, because
Yeah.
he's just like magic.
Yeah, and I hate to say this, but like, I'm saying this quite a bit, but like trying to not trying to take anything from the Bucks, but realistically speaking, if he doesn't get injured, we're
Yeah,
talking
no,
about
no, I'm with you, 100%.
a championship Brooklyn Nets
Yeah,
team. Like that's how crazy he was playing. He was like for someone to be like look at those stats you named,
yeah,
and then for him to take a huge step back in the playoffs because it's what his team needs.
yeah,
Like he only averaged 22.7, 3.4 assists, 5.8 rebounds. But it wasn't like his team was like suffering because he wasn't averaging enough points. He was taking that step back cautiously, getting the guys like, okay, you could shoot more. Kevin Durant's going off. Let me just, be a good spot up shooter. You know what I mean? Let me get it going and stuff like that. And for him to take that step back, for him to have like that ego, which people always talk about, like
mm-hmm.
Kyrie Irving's ego and stuff, but like he took a step back. Him and James Harden, they like communicated with each other and said, like, hey, you pass more, I'll shoot more. Then like in the playoffs, they both were injured, but like even before the injury, they were willing to take that step back. And you just gotta give him a credit, man. Like when it comes playoff time, he's willing to win. He's willing to play good defense. And if we get playoff Kyrie like the whole season, which we won't get, but if we do, he'll easily be an MVP candidate for the rest of his career.
Easily. Like you're not going to win MVP playing on that Brooklyn team. It's just not going
Yeah,
to
because too
happen.
much guys. Yeah,
But talent wise and numbers wise, he like we're going to look
yeah,
back on his numbers and be like, how did this guy never win an MVP?
yeah,
Like especially if he plays like a full 82 game season, it's just like
yeah.
insane.
And he has the second most memorable shot in all of the NBA
Yeah,
history.
yeah, yeah,
Maybe I put Ray Allen above him. Maybe Michael Jordan's game winner against the Jazz. But his is up there, man. Game 7 winner over Steph Curry,
yeah,
the best point guard ever.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's incredible, and he's
yeah,
always gonna have that for him.
yeah, yeah. Let's go on to that top three. We obviously like you said, we both have
Same
Steph
order.
one.
Yeah,
Interesting to see who we have two and who we have three. I'll let you go first.
I have Luka 2 and Dame 3.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I
Yeah,
think we had it flip flop last year. I think
yeah,
actually we had LeBron one last year, but LeBron's not a point guard this year. Anyway, uh,
yeah.
it's a toss up between these two guys. Luka Doncic in his age 22 season this year was 28, 8.5 around there with 48 from the field, 35 from three, which was up, and 73 from the line. Free throws are a little bit of an issue for him, but he's just unbelievable. He's out of all these guys, he can like he puts up the like he can literally put a
Yes.
team on his back by himself, put up a triple double every single game, and gets better in the playoffs. And just like no words can describe just how good he is at his age.
Yeah, we call him the Giannis counterpart because he's in the West and he is the young guy that is going to be the face of the league alongside Giannis. Giannis going to be the face of the league in the East. Giannis
Yeah,
already has his accolades, 2 MVPs, Defensive
yeah,
Player of the Year, Finals MVP now, and NBA championship. Giannis has his accolades. We all assume Luka may not get those accolades, but he's going to have the numbers that's going to keep him as the face of the league. He potentially had the best playoff series that I have seen outside of like a LeBron James or a Kevin Durant. You know what I mean? Like that's how good it was. Like it was
yeah.
insane. He averaged 35.7 points with 10.3 assists, with 7.9 rebounds. Uh, it was crazy. He was shooting an effective field goal percentage of 56.9, 54% from the 2-point field percentage, and 40% from three. His free throw percentage does have to take a
Yeah.
huge improvement, which is surprising because you see a guy shooting 40% from three, 50% from two gold, but he's only shooting 53% from the free throw line during the playoffs. Like that was surprising, but he definitely improved because in the regular season he wasn't an
73.
awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a 73% shooter. It's just like LeBron, man. This guy, like
Yeah.
LeBron, is like the only other player where the average is crazy stats, good efficiency everywhere, and then you look at his free throw, it's like, how's it
Yeah.
only 63, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like LeBron. Uh, man, nothing else to say. Face of the league. Like
Nothing
this is
else to
my better
say.
face of the league.
Face of the league. And
Yeah,
he's a good team defender. At least he brings rebounding to the table. He's the
yeah.
best rebounding point guard on this list by far, like 6'8", 6'9".
Westbrook.
And True, true. But he's also
Yeah,
like he's a good team defender. He's a good positioning stuff
yeah,
like that. Like not one on one, but he doesn't get exposed. Like we have seen Steph get exposed defensively in the
yeah.
playoffs before. I don't think we're gonna see Luka like that glaringly exposed throughout his career. I don't know. Could be wrong.
Just because size, right? Like when you have
Yeah, just
size,
size. Yeah,
you could put him on like
the worst power for
eh,
like the random stretch four. Like
like
PJ
everyone
Tucker.
has like a Danny Green, PJ
Yeah,
Tucker on their
yeah,
championship runs. So that's who you're gonna put him on.
yeah,
Whereas it's tough to put Steph on them because they're just gonna bring him in the post and they're just gonna like lean
yeah,
on them and wear him out, right? Like not even score. They're just gonna tire out Steph
yeah,
because like
yeah,
that's the whole point,
yeah,
right? But yeah, like he's amazing. He's gonna be fun to watch, and I don't think he's gonna break any all-time records because he came in at 19 rather than like 18,
mm,
and he has to have a crazy longevity. But with the pace increasing every year, you never know, man. This might be he might be. I think he will be a 30,000 point scorer, all that stuff. It's just will he break that like all-time record, which LeBron or Kareem will have by the
yeah,
time he's up there?
yeah.
It would be interesting to see.
And I think we have to mention his Olympics run. That Slovenian
Yeah,
team with no one else on it, pretty much bringing them to a Final Four, almost getting a medal, which like just crazy. Like putting that team on his back against some of the talent he was going against is insane. I'm just hoping he gets little bit better of a team around him. In
yeah,
Dallas, like we are, Kristaps Porzingis, problems are well documented.
yeah.
So I don't really expect them to make a deep playoff run again this year unless they make some crazy Bradley Beal trade or something like that. But even then,
Mhm.
I think this team does need work. But like you said, face of the league,
Yeah.
one of the best players in the league, period.
Yeah, and this Dallas Mavericks team has improved. They got a new coach, which the players
Yeah.
are liking more. Porzingis already said he likes what kids
Yeah.
offense can potentially bring him, and he's not trying to get traded or anything like that. Reggie Bullock, sniper. This guy's
Yeah.
just gonna come in, shoot shots, and he's gonna get it going. Uh, Tim Hardaway Jr. back, he played amazing last playoffs, and he was pretty good during the regular season as well. There another year for Jalen Brunson. He's going to improve. Maxi Kleber showed he was improving. Dorian Finney-Smith is pretty good. Like this team is good.
Yeah.
And now with like you just need another year. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if this team, like the Suns, something happens, injury here, there, whatever, they could sneak a championship, right? But that's how good Luka Doncic is, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to obviously try to improve every offseason, but I'm never going to count this team out because that's how good Luka
Yeah.
is.
That's the thing. Like, I don't think they're gonna have like sustained regular season success because their team
Yeah.
just isn't deep enough, isn't complete enough. But do you feel comfortable betting against them in any playoff series? Like any playoff game, Luka can just pull it
No.
up by himself, right? It's kind of insane.
Let's be real. That was the best Clippers team during the
Yeah.
whole like series because that's when Kawhi was the most healthy,
Yep.
and they took that team to 7 games.
Yeah.
Like if that team that played the Mavericks played the Suns, that Clippers team is beating the Suns. That Clippers team is going
Yeah.
to the
Oh, yeah.
finals, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and Kawhi Leonard, in my opinion, is the best defender in the league when he tries in the fourth
Mm,
quarter and stuff. And he averaged 35.7 on Kawhi Leonard and Paul George.
it's insane.
Like the
It's
two
insane.
best
Yeah.
defenders. Like there's nothing else could do. And like the second he versus someone that's not the Clippers, because that's
Yeah.
all he's versing in the final
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah.
The second he versus someone else,
Yeah.
and it's not Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, we might be averaging 45 points a game with
Yeah.
like 15 assists. Like that's how
Yeah.
crazy it's gonna
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Like he's having the best defenders and averaging these stats. Like it's
Yeah.
gonna be so fun
I know.
when we see
Yeah.
him against everyone else.
Can't wait. To be honest, they might win that series if he makes a few more free throws. If he shoots 80% from the
Yeah.
line, they probably win that series. But that's neither here nor there. So let's talk Dame. Dame was same old Dame again this year. 29
Yeah.
points, 4 rebounds, 7.5 assists, 39% from three. Again, another guy who just carries the team on his back, and another guy who doesn't have too much help around him year in and year out, and it's really unfortunate to see.
Yeah, but he averaged 34.3 points with 10.2 assists and 4.3 rebounds in the playoffs. Yeah, man, like these two guys are crazy. They just like 35.7 and 34.3 in the playoffs. Like they literally took their teams on their back and they still lost. Dame couldn't even beat a team that was without Jamal Murray, the second best player, without
Yeah.
a bunch of guards because all their guards were hurt. Like literally,
Mhm.
Austin Rivers was signed midway without having an NBA team, and he was starting for them.
Literally, yeah.
Like they were struggling. He dropped 50 a game, and then he tossed it to CJ, and CJ stepped out of bounds in overtime. Like this is Dame's last year in Portland. There can probably going to be another first round exit, and once he goes to a new team, we can see how much he improves his team and how much closer he brings them to the championship team. But it's going to be interesting to see another year, another last kind of like farewell to Portland.
Hmm.
Portland fans, enjoy him while you can because he's definitely going to be somewhere else next year.
Yeah, and you can't fault him. He's he definitely, paid his
Tried.
dues and stuck it out.
Yeah.
And I think even if he does end up leaving, I think there's no hard feelings at all. I think it's just, it's going to be
Yeah.
actually mutual. They always say it's mutual, but I think this one actually would be. Yeah, let's finish off talking about undoubtedly. I didn't write down his stats, Steph Curry, because there's no point in talking about his stats. He's just either one or two on everyone's best point guards of all time list. Age 32, comes back from an injury-riddled season, no big deal. Leads the league in scoring at 32 points a game. Loses in the play-in tournament game to the aforementioned Memphis Grizzlies, but through no fault of his own. And hopefully this year, with Clay coming back at Christmas, with Draymond going back to being that like third best player in the team, with Andrew Wiggins and all those guys back, improvement. Hopefully we're going to see more regular season success and like an actual playoff series from this team.
Yeah, this team is crazy. So he led the scoring, his first MVP run, 30.1 points.
Yeah.
And then he took a step back because, Klay Thompson and the bench was better, and that was a 73-9 team. And then, he's like, all right, I'll still stay around that 25, 26 range because Kevin Durant just joined that team and we're going to go to the finals 3 times.
Yeah.
So then the year when everyone leaves, he gets hurt. So that was his like 20-point season. That doesn't really count. And then his first healthy season back when, the team's empty, he leads the league in scoring again.
Yeah. No big
so
deal. 32.
Like,
yeah.
32. Like he could have literally led the league in scoring like all the time. Like he's that good. He has to miss the next 500 threes for him to have the same career 3-point percentage as Ray Allen, who's considered the second greatest 3-point shooter of all time. Like he's incredible, man. Like he changed the league. He changed the way the game's played. He changed the way street basketball's played. He might not be as good as like a LeBron James, like all time, like when you rank him, right? But the impact he had on the game and how he's changed the game for these young kids who are wearing Under Armour shoes, which me and you have never wore an Under Armour shoe like when we were growing up, right? Like it was literally just Nike, Jordans, Adidas, that was it.
Yeah.
And now he made Under Armour cool. He made shooting threes cool. Like we didn't shoot that much threes like in our like high school games and stuff. Like it was like driving into the paint, like mid range and stuff. Like he evolved the game and he evolved like a shoe brand. Like he just had so much impact on the game. Like it's crazy to think back and see how much impact he had.
Insane. And the difference between him and guys like Luka and Dame is he's at his best when he's playing off the ball, when he's running around off screens and stuff like that. That's when he's at his best. And that's when they were winning, obviously, all those championships. But then this year, when he's like, obviously needs to do everything by himself. He's like, no big deal. I'll do it by myself and score 32 a game. And his efficiency even went up when he was doing that. The shots he was taking were way, way less open. Like I pulled up the numbers in one of our earlier podcasts, but his shots were way less open. They were his time to shoot and release was like way less, way more shots off the dribble versus catch and shoot. And his efficiency was like 25 points more, something like that. So no words can describe. He's going to be just the same this year, if not better. And it's going to be like so happy to see the Splash Brothers back around Christmas.
And people are like really under like people just don't fathom how good he shot. Like 42% from 3, and then 60% effective field goal percentage, 56.9% 2-point field percentage, 91.6% free throw percentage. Like,
but the degree of difficulty of his shots were so high too. Like, it's just crazy.
Like that 50, 40, 90 club is like so like hard to get, and he just like, all right, I'll do a little bit more than 40, a little bit more than 50, and a little bit more than 90, right? It's like I'll just make it look super easy while scoring 32, where most of his shots are like doubled and tripled and fading and like 6 feet behind,
17 feet behind. Like it's just insane.
It's crazy.
And also underrated, one of the best free throw shooters of all time, period. Steve Nash is probably the best. and then Steph Curry's like right up there. It's just insane. No superlatives enough to talk about how good he is.
Yeah, nothing else really to say. Everyone knows who he is.
Yeah.
Steph Curry.
Yeah. So that does it for our point guard list, and that does it for all of our positional rankings. NBA is starting up in like very soon, so we're gonna become with like fantasy stuff and it's just
All-star
like
stuff,
all-star stuff,
predictions, award
yeah,
prediction.
all the stuff. This is the
Yeah.
best time of the year when the NBA is starting up. All sports are on at once. Just best time of the year for me. But thank you guys for listening to this episode. We'll be back next week, like we always are, with another episode. In the meantime, you can check us out on Instagram at Stress the Floor Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube page, STF Clips, for all the best clips. Most importantly, subscribe to the podcast feed, leave us a 5-star rating and a review because it all really helps with the algorithm. And other than that, we will see you guys next week.